Mm, artifacts are missing. Okay, okay, let's so recap. Okay, so let's see. Right. So yesterday, what we do, we did. So yesterday, those who were not here yesterday, Alan wasn't here yesterday, right? Okay. So never mind. There's a video. So I uploaded the video link on the announcement. This is the announcement I created yesterday for yesterday's lesson. So we have the list of the links we're going to do. Below the list, sorry, this link is a bit hard to see. So there's a Google Drive to link to the source code we did yesterday, and below there is a YouTube recording, the screen recording as well for yesterday's practical walkthrough the coding. So today we'll do the same thing. We'll have a recording again, the screen recording, plus we'll finish up point number 3, which is food resource, this methods, and the 4 order resource, this methods. Right. So if I have a bit of time at the end of doing this 4, I will show you how to deploy this with Heroku. Two ways of demoing your app, or whether connecting to your Android app, because you need to expose your Java server and web services to the internet for your Android app to connect to. So either it must be on the cloud somewhere or from the machine, and your Android can connect directly. So I'll show you 2 ways to do it. One is using ngrok. So ngrok is a VPN tunneling software. What it does is it creates a tunnel between your computer to the internet. So it exposes your computer as a server on the internet, and it'll give you a subdomain to access your server. So you can actually hardcode a subdomain in your Android app and then connect to your laptop as if your database and things are running to consume web services. So that's one way. The other way is to deploy your entire thing into Heroku with MySQL. Then I will show you how to sign up for an account, create a MySQL database, free one which is 10 megabyte, not a lot of space. It's just enough to test a few things. And then you will get a domain name, subdomain. You can put it in your Android app to tap on to consume web services. So these are the 2 ways. What's good about Heroku is that you don't need to turn on a laptop and start ngrok to use it. Because in ngrok, what happens is that whenever you start the program, it will give you a new domain, subdomain name. So it's like today I have a subdomain name, tomorrow I start again, I'll get another subdomain name, and I need to go to the Android app to change it. Yeah. So assuming you already have an app that's working on your phone, you want to demo it, going to Heroku would be best because that subdomain wouldn't change when you restart the server. Okay, so if I have time, I'll show you the steps. It's quite easy to follow through. So even I'll just show you the page that they do, how they try to do it, and then we just follow step by step to do it. Okay. So if we come back to MenuAPI, okay, so for Alan, since you didn't come yesterday, okay, what we are doing now is to have a minimum scope enough for you all to settle your CA2. You will definitely pass with CA2 following this example. Okay, whether you'll pass with flying colors or whichever will depend on how much a bit of extra effort you put inside. That's all. Okay, and this is in line with what Vincent is doing on the other side. So you should be able to consume the services to show in the actual Android app if you want to do that. Okay. So if you worry about what about the question in CA2, like all those endpoints and all that, well, most of the requirements there are actually here already in the list. Okay, I won't say all, but here are the essential ones that should cover a passing rate for CA2. Yeah. Okay, so let's start with the food resource. For that, let me make my screen bigger. Okay, so food resource, if you refer to the announcement in Polymorph, food resource endpoint has two main endpoints. So imagine you're looking at GrabFood, and then the first page you see are a list of food items you can order, right? So that will fall into the first endpoint called get foods. So depending on you using infinite scroll or you have some pagination, okay, you will still implement some kind of pagination here. At the minimum, the URL that leads to the next page of maybe 10 or 20 food items. So that will be quite straightforward to set up. Then following, if the user tap on the individual food, you will get food ID, food item, one item by ID, which will then show the name and the price, and probably a picture, the URL of the picture, so where this picture is stored. And you also have a link which is like doing a hypermedia state to tell for the Android app to know that, oh, for every item, this is the method of post and the URL to make an order or add this into the order. Okay, so we will create this endpoint right now. Okay, so go back to Eclipse. So in Eclipse, so here we'll do let's say, so in programming they say there's two approaches, right? Top down or bottom up. So top down will be something you start from the UI and then you go to the next layer, which is your web services layer to create the resources, and then followed by the models, and then all the way down to database. So that's the top down approach of development work. Top down approach is good when you look at the whole big picture, and and but the problem is the top down approach tends to look like a tree going down this way. Okay, so you start with something small, then as you go down, you uncover more and more bits you need to do, and it gets bigger. Okay, the bottom up approach would work from the bottom up, so you start at the bottom of a tree. So what you do with bottom up approach, you start developing little pieces of things you need for the first layer, and then it gets a bit smaller and smaller as you go up to finally connect it to the UI. So that is the way of looking at the bottom approach. So maybe now we'll try the bottom up approach, which is starting from database. So if I go back to the requirements here, so get food I know is a list. So to have a list, I need to understand for every individual food item what is going to be inside. So it's quite similar to the schema they're giving you. There is an ID, there's a name, there's a price, maybe it's a category linked to it. So let's forget about category for now and just focus on a few important things: ID, name, price, and picture. Okay. The link here is dynamically generated, so you really have four very important attributes to put in there. I'm not even putting in restaurant yet. Okay, so let's start with the four. So if you go to the database in MySQL Workbench, you can open that. Okay, so what we need here missing is a foods table. So to create a foods table, you can do the GUI way. Okay, so foods table here, so I call it foods, and column, of course, there'll be an ID. So the first column is always the identifier, the unique identifier, and it's almost kind of like a drill to you. After some time, that identifier, it gives you see a yellow key, which is primary key. Data type usually integer. PK, leave it on for primary key. NN for not now. It cannot be an empty value or now. And always check the AI, which is for auto increment. So this identifier and the number will increment by 1 every time you insert a row. So this will be the very default, quite a standard drill whenever you create a table with an identifier. Unique, yes, and unique. The unique will create a unique index. The indexing will make it faster to retrieve data. Unsigned. Wait, Chan, it's unsigned. Oh, sorry, not unique. This is unsigned. This is unsigned, right? Oh, unique here. UQ, unique index. Okay, so PK and N, UQ, and AI. So that's your in default primary key. So in the food, you also have name. The name of the food will be, so what do you call it? Here you can give a variable character of 255 characters inside there, and likely you don't want the name of the food to be a null value, so it must have a name there. Okay. Next thing will be price. So price will always be in decimal, could be in decimal digits. Right? So to cater for decimal digits, you can choose from the drop down decimal. Okay. So there's one type of value you can use. I think they have another one called double. Yeah. Okay. So decimal and double. What's the difference? Okay. So MySQL data type double versus decimal. Okay, so why does it have two different types of data type that seem to be doing the same thing? Okay, so we call it floating type. So any number that has a decimal place and then you need to have a precision downward, we call it floating types. There are mainly three types here: float, double, decimal. So you can have decimal points with values that are very big with a lot of decimal points. For example, in engineering, you have something that calculates down to certain precision. We call it precisions. But then you also have certain type of decimal values that don't need that much precision. For example, money. So money, generally all of us are used to with two decimal places, right? Maybe in financial markets in banking, they may go up to 4 or 5 or trading, so it depends. So when do you use the correct one? So float is the one that can contain the most decimal places, therefore it takes up the most space in databases. Then followed by decimal, followed by double. Okay. So all the floating point numbers, what we want to know is how much can they store. Okay. So to store a number like this, 1, 2, 3, 4.678. So you have three decimal places. Before other three decimal places, you have 3 digits. Before that, you have 5. Okay. So what happens? You can set it as a double and configure it to say 83. 83 means amount of digits you can store before decimal, 3 is after the decimal. So in using double, you can actually configure it to say to store a set number of range, because you know you'll never use more than 3 decimal places, so you can set a value there. Okay. For float is okay. Precision from 0 to 23 results in a 4-byte single precision. Okay. Precision from 24 to 3 the 8-byte double precision. So generally, if you look at float, you can store much a higher number of precision. Compared to decimal, a maximum of 65 digits with 30 digits after decimal point. Yeah. So if you want to do decimal, you can. It doesn't allow you to configure any much values here, but it can store up to 65 digits and 30 digits after decimal point. Okay. So generally, if you want to do, let's say you're in a fintech and you need to calculate money down to a certain position, you will use probably decimal. Then float you use for scientific calculations. Right. So in this case, we'll do it very straightforward. So we'll just stick with double. Okay. If you leave it as empty, you leave it without options, it will still fine. You just take the default values. Okay. So next thing I'll have will be image. So image here, I'm not going to store the image in the database because generally I don't recommend storing binary data in the database because it might tend to take up more bandwidth and space. It's more optimized to store images and files in an actual file or folder disk location. So here the URL would really mean what the image here will mean the URL or the pointer to where the file is stored or the file name. So in this case, maybe I'll just give image 255 characters for the length of the file name. So in price, let's go back to price. Price shouldn't be null. Default will be 0. Image, okay, maybe no image, it's possible. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4 items. Let's see, last item, I don't need that. If you do accidentally add in a column that you don't want, you can right click and say delete selected. I think so. Okay, pretty slow. Okay, so here are the 4 columns I need, and now I just click apply. So likewise, every time you go to apply, you always see MySQL generate the actual table script. You can understand, look at the options and understand how it's been used. So apply, finish. Okay, so I have my foods table. Okay. So I have a table. Next thing is I need a model. So the going bottom up is table creation. I know the schema. Now I create the model to support the schema. So the model to support the schema basically will be what am I going to send out to the recipient of the web service, which is Android app. So what the schema, the JSON format, and the XML format will depend on this particular class I will create. So here under models, I will create a class called food model to represent one food item. So very much here, I will follow the columns I have. So public integer ID. So now that you're typing it through, you realize that in the MySQL, you often put varchar or text, or medium text and such thing. But in Java, you never have a varchar equivalent. Okay. So in Java, basically, as long as the text is string, whether it's going to be a large text which is 2 gigabytes of characters, it's still going to be a string. Okay, so here I have string name, price will be double. So in Java, I think also it's double or decimal. Double. Okay, so we also have double in Java. Right. Okay, and final one would be the image. Okay. So always have a default constructor. Right. So this is my food model. Quite a normal item here. So now I move to the data store. So I have my table, I have my model. I will need the data store, which is methods to retrieve food items from a table. So here you notice I already have a category store, the user store. So I'll need to create one class that will handle any database operations with foods. So call this food store. So in the food store, okay, so here you can do as you create some of these classes, you notice they are a bit repetitive. You can actually go and refer to what you did before and kind of copy some of the things over. So the structure will be the same. For example, in this case, I have, you know, let's see, if you have certain methods you want to reuse, you can put them there, or you can refactor into a class to share it across. So let's go to the first method I will need. So the first method I need is a get all foods, right? So let's go to array list. List. Okay. So list. So I need to return a food model list. So get list. So I'll call it get list. Okay. So the get list will tend to return me a list of food models. So right now, you're going to think about the app. The app in the first screen, like GrabFood, when you first open the screen, you would have retrieve maybe 10, 20 items. So there's some kind of paging happening. You don't say retrieve and then it gives you every single thing in the database, because one, if you have too many, then your database would be spitting out too much data to hold for the bandwidth. So that's not too good. So we'll just retrieve a certain number. To have the number, then we'll put a number as a parameter under this method. So maybe here I will say page, right? So which page do I retrieve from, and page size, how many items do I retrieve it from? Okay. So start to see a little bit of pagination happening here. Okay. So in the method, I will have a list, food model, food list. So create my list. Eventually, going to return this food list, and in between will be my SQL. Do with that. Okay, so list is something that you need to import from Java util. Food model you need to import from your own models. Okay. Okay. Sorry. The list here should be array list. Array list. Oh, yep. So array list from Java util again. Okay. So here, standard thing when I'm calling database, I need first of all a connection. I can obtain the connection from my data access connection. So once I have the connection, whatever I'm doing in the database, I must always put it in the try and catch for any SQL exception. For now, we'll do a very unglorifying system.out.print line x.get message. Okay, so here, since I'm going to retrieve data from the food table, the list, and we have a page and page size to use. So I will need to create a actual statement with parameters. So I'll use a prepared statement, generate it from the connection. So here we'll prepare a statement. So we'll select star from fruits. Okay, we have a where. I'm not actually choosing food by the category, so I just create everything. But I do have parameter for page and page size. Okay, so now I will introduce you. MySQL has this thing called limit and skip. Okay, so I think so limit. So they have this function or this keyword called limit. So MySQL allows you to query a list of items and say start from this index, take how many. Okay, in SQL Server or any databases, you also have something similar to say start from this index, take how many. So there's this concept of where do I start from and how many I want to take. Okay. So it's like if you're an Excel spreadsheet with quite a lot of rows. Sometimes you don't want to retrieve from 0 to all the way to n. You just want to pick up something right in the middle. But you need to know where to start from and how many to retrieve. So these are the two numbers you need to prepare or calculate later on based on these two values. Okay. So of course, FTFT, eventually I need to do a set integer for this and this value. Okay, so that before I do that, so I need to calculate the start index and how many to take. Okay, so there are two things you need to calculate based on the parameter of page and page size. Where do I start taking from, or which row? So assuming first row is 0, and then how many to take. The how many to take is straightforward. You will take directly from the value parameter called page size. That's how many you're going to retrieve. When to start, we'll need a calculation between these two values. Okay, so who's familiar with taking records from a table? Yeah, normally yes. So, okay, integer start from. So to get where do I start from? You to take page size times my page. Okay, please take note that this page here, if your page is always starting from 0, this will be fine. If your page starts from 1, then here you need to minus 1 first, and then you times page size. So this is where you get your start from. Straight, simple so far. Or those who've done it before, databases, you know, okay? So here I take my prepared statement, set integer. First parameter will be my start from, and then my second parameter would be page size. This should return me the result from execute query, and I check if result. Okay, now don't check. Okay, so before I continue, prepared statement, if it is, I have this. Okay, so now if you're doing a select statement, select all, so you're expected to return a list which you need to populate into this food list here, right? So the result set will not just have one item but have multiple. So in order to convert the multiple list items into your result set, this food list, normally you can do a loop. So you can do a while check. So you use the function next. So dot next is a pointer. So when the pointer starts off, you point to nowhere. So the moment you call dot next, you point to the first available record, and when you call next again, you point to the next consecutive records. So every time you call next, it's moving down until it reaches the end of the result set. It points to nowhere. This dot next will return you a false. So while it is still valid, that means you still have records to point to. So maybe I'll just create my food items, and then pull out from each result different values. So here I'll just do the get string, get integer, get string, and etc. I'll be using the column name to do the get string, get values. Price, because it is a double, I get a double. That's it. So what happens if you accidentally do a get integer on a double value? Just simply it will likely cut off the values after the decimal place. Okay. Oh, spelling. Okay. So after I create a new item here, because I have my list, I just need to add this item into my list. So while all this is happening, I should be able to retrieve the values, the items from food based on the paging or page size. So let's say if I say I have 100 items here, I want to retrieve the second page. So second page, right? So we normally say second, but actually it's start from 0, so it's 1. So this will be 1, page will be 1, page size will be, let's say I want to retrieve 10 items, then that will be 10. That means I start from row, where? 1 times 10, 10. That was, yeah. 10. 10, then you take 10. Yeah, because start with 0, unless you start from 1. So far, you all get the idea? So I got my food store, my food's done. Now I can go up, right? So when I'm going up, I go to my resources. So I don't have a food resource yet. Now time to create a food resource. So go to a new class, foods. Okay. So here, this is a Java. So in foods, first thing is what is the path to go to this resource? So my first annotation, we have my foods up here. Okay, so that's the first path. And what's the method I'm going to create? I'm going to create a get foods. So public response get. So get, right? Just go to get method. I will have two parameters I will pass in. How will I pass in the parameters? Likely, maybe I'll use query string for this. So if I were to do a URL call, what will we do? So we get foods page is equal to something, and page size is equals to page size. So this is the kind of parameters I will be likely passing into my endpoint for this particular resource. So first thing is, is there a path? No path. But is there a method? Yes. So this is using get method. And we have two parameters. One will be the page, and second will be the page size. Okay, so when a web service endpoint has parameters, you need to tell Java that how do they get the parameters from. So because we're using query strings, query parameters, the one with question mark, and above each parameter you need to add an annotation called query param. Okay, and in the annotation, besides telling Java that this is a query parameter you extract from query string, you need to tell it the key. So in this case, for page, the query parameter is called page, and for page size, query param will be page size. Case sensitive, right? Okay. So when doing all this, of course, you complain to you that it doesn't recognize it, all this stuff. So make sure you import them correctly. Okay. Because now I don't have a return yet, right? So ultimately, I'll need to return a response. Okay. Later on, I will need to use the generate entity list to return the object. Okay. So in foods, you will be using basically the food store that we created. So within the food class, create a private variable that uses this store, instance it. So in here, what I'll have is I'll declare the type of data to be returned. Go to the store and get list. So the get list itself will get a parameter from this page and page size and return into this particular list. Okay, so when you get a list here and try to resolve the type, right? First three items are wrong, so don't use them. Make sure you import the one that's under util. And then make sure you import your food model from the models as well. Okay. So once you get the data, which is the list back, you need to return it back to the object, right? Because you're going to return it in JSON, then ensure that you have producers, the tag here. Yep, application JSON, not JSON application. New content type. Okay, so food list. So here in food list to response OK. So response OK dot entity. Okay, the entity. So here generic. So here to return the entity, you need to create a new generic entity of type list food model, right? A lot of stuff, right? Okay, then throw food list into the constructor. Okay, yeah, and curly brace. Generic entity, you complain about that again. Yeah. Okay, this as well. Right. Okay. So here you have your endpoint that return you list of food based on with some paging parameters. Okay, so here comes a question. What if the person never when you call the endpoint, you never actually provide the value page and page size. What will happen? So there's no default value here, right? Okay. According to my memory, there is a thing called default. Default value. Default value. I think so. Let's see. Default value. So every parameter can have a kind of a default value. Here the string. Yeah. For some weird reason, it gives me a default string. Okay. So let's see if this works. Huh? So if let's say page is not provided by the Android app or the client that's going to call, or page size is not included, I will provide a default value of 0 and 10. So if you call this for the first time and you don't provide a page and page size, I would say you are most likely retrieving on page 0 and I will default to a page size of 10. Let's see. Okay, so default value, what does it do? So it binds to the following: path parameter, query parameter, matrix, cookie, form, header. Okay, right. Okay, so we got a method, but we don't have any data to retrieve. So, okay, so if you're done, if you're still copying this, let me know which page you have not copied until. If you're done copying, you can go to the MySQL table and start inserting some dummy data. Then we make a test to call this method. Oh, the food model. Let's see, split the Okay, for those who missed yesterday's class, if Vincent has given you option of doing Firebase, right? Firebase. So if you want to use Firebase, you can go ahead. If you want to use this one to connect and consume data for his assignment tool, you can also do that. So up to you, choice. Okay, anyone left stuff to copy? No? Yes? Anyone still copying? Okay, if not, then I'll go to adding some dummy data into my table here. Okay, how to add dummy data in MySQL Workbench? There are two ways. You either can try to practice some SQL by writing insert statements, okay, or you can do this: select rows. Let's see. I think there should be something that appears here. No, okay. What's this? Apparently no rows appear. Okay, never mind. So if you do get a data grid here, you can actually use that to enter data directly. Never mind. I'll do the hard way. The hard way means you can practice some SQL. Okay. So when you're inserting rows into the food, you do not need to insert into the column ID. You can skip that because it's a primary key that has auto increment attribute on it. So you just need to concentrate on the rest of the values here. Okay. So right, so name sandwich, tuna sandwich. How much is sell tuna sandwich here? Haha, image. Okay, so here's a fun thing I like to do. I like to steal images. Okay, so not that I like to steal images, but there's this website called pexels.com. So you know, last time when you do projects for anybody or yourself, you need some interesting stock images, right? And you know stock images are quite expensive you get from Getty Images or wherever. There's this site called Pexels that let you download free images. And they're also stock images. So I'll just choose some from here. Okay. They also have an API for developers who can embed images and do a search on images. Okay, so I'm going to copy the image address. Yep, and paste it here. So I'm not going to upload images right now. Okay, so let me make some food items. Kindly. Uh, sure, I like something there lah, so that's why I choose. Okay, so I just choose some nice photos here. I'm sure they have this. Oh, sponsored one. Okay, never mind. Okay. Oh, these are sponsored images. Okay, if you do take sponsored images like this, which are all the sponsored image bank images from stock images or Adobe stock or such, you notice if you take then they all have this watermark inside. Okay, so I think generally the license the rule is as long as you're using for hobby or personal project is fine, not for commercial projects. So I just put 3 of them in here first and oh, I have error. What did it say? Right index near this. Okay. Oh, wait, no. This. What's it? Oh, okay. I want to have the comma. Hmm? Ah, yeah. Forgot comma just now. I think I have an extra comma. Okay. Yep. My MSQL is a bit cranky. You cannot see data coming. Never mind. Okay, so got 3 items inside there. Let's try to start the server and run this Maybe while I was doing that, I'll add some more items. Is it done? Still publishing. Okay. Okay. Is it done? Okay, it's done. Alright. So Postman, test it out. Okay, so I have so far categories. Okay, so create one more new tab for the food. So get, because it's the front of this is the same, right? So API foods, right? No parameters. See what happens. Yes, so here are my stuff. So when no parameters, it will just take the default and just throw them in. Now I'm gonna add the parameters. So in Postman, when you add parameters, you can, if you're familiar with the syntax, you just to current parameters add a question mark and page, maybe I'll make 1 and page size is equal to 2. Okay. So I will expect to see only 2 items in the return. Yeah, 2 items. Tuna, burgers. Let's say I change the page to 1, then I will see the next page. Cinnamon and fries. Okay. So notice the order of the items sent in are based on the order I inserted in the database. So I don't not specify a service any order by price or name in that fashion yet. We can add it as an interesting enhancement if you do your own. Okay, so this one works. Now we go on to getting one item. Okay. Okay. Right now the one item and the list is a little bit slightly meaningless because sometimes when you get one item detail, you tend to get more information compared to this. But so we are very simple. We will still get the same structure back. There's not really much extra stuff except for the link that provides a method for you to add this item into your order. So to start off with, since we already have the store, okay, so we need to here inside the food store have a method to return one item. Okay, so maybe for you to expand on this function in the future, instead of using the food model, we can create a thing called a different model that will cater to displaying one food item. So maybe we create food detail model, right? So the food detail model is meant to give you more information about the food, like oh, it may be available timing, which restaurant is it for, how many calories, ingredients, allergy, not good for people with allergies, etc. So any extra information you can put in under this model. But taking note, if you do create a model like this, you will need to also include those additional fields or properties into your database. So right now, I'm going to just use a food model stuff. Okay, so you all remember Java inheritance? Okay, so instead of copy this thing over to food detail model because it's gonna be the same anyway. Yeah, I think extends. Yeah, extends food model. And then just have my standard constructor here. Okay. So your Java, you remember extend implements, right? Implement is to override. Implement is to take off an interface. Okay, so interface in class is basically a class with a scaffold. No tangible objects, function I can use. Methods but just a scaffold, skeleton. So implement means you implement the actual method that needs to be created. Extend is to inherit from a class, but then you can also override methods inside here. And also add on additional properties if you want to. So if you have your own properties to add inside here, you can just create them on your own. So let's say we keep it simple, nothing yet. We just code full detail model. So I move on to the user store, food store, sorry. So in food store, I have a method to retrieve a list. Now I want to retrieve just one item. So create public. So this will return me a food detail model. Get one, and based on the ID. Okay. So detail model will be the type of item I want to return. Everything here is more or less same as the other method. Okay, so same also, I have a prepared statement. Here select star also from foods, but I have a where condition. So where ID is equals to question mark. So here I set the question mark the parameter, first parameter to the ID of the food item. And then I'm going to return myself a result set. Now in this case, I only have one item, so I don't need to use a for loop to a while loop, or which I need loop to go through the list of results. But I just need to make sure that when I do a dot next, there is a single record that will return. I will just grab the record and store into food, the food variable here. So if there is something, I will instance the food detail model and then assign all the values in. I'm lazy, that's why I'm copying and pasting. Okay. So if this method return me a matching food ID based on ID, there will be something else. Food will be now. So now I have this store method ready. I can go on to the resources. So same thing now. I'm dealing with food. So I'll go to food Java, the resource here. Create a method to return one food item given a path parameter that is ID. So I will have an ID, which is a path parameter. Here, this method is still a get, but it has a slightly different path. So unlike the get all, which I don't need to specify a path, this will have an ID as well as a path. So in Java, when you define an ID and path parameter, you use a curly brace, and it gets curly brace to define that this is going to give a dynamic value. So for Java to know that this path ID will map to this parameter ID here, you need to create an annotation to define this parameter as a path param. Telling it a path param is not enough. You need to tell it what is the mapping in the path here. It will give you this value. So here we'll say ID. So ID has to match this ID here. Whether or not you're going to call this ID or food ID or any ID doesn't matter as long as this value and this value are the same. Okay. So here I'm gonna go get my food detail model, retrieve it from the store, I get one method, pass the ID in, and then return the response. When you're importing path parameter, when you mouse over, the first option they give you, which is WebSocket server, will be the wrong one. Choose the W Java X WSRS. Some students have made this mistake before. Okay, so I'm done. So now I got one method to give me one item. Okay, not fully done yet. Okay, because based on the what we want to achieve, this will have a link property here. Okay, so link property will give the app to some information about what can you do with this data. So let's work on that one the next. Okay, so in food detail model, I will need to have that little piece of information. So to create a little piece of information, it's a link. So we do have in the past have a link class created, which is href and method. What is missing here from what we have in the design is that there's also a RAL. Now the RAL is arbitrary. Purpose of this attribute is to maybe give your app or you some sanity when reading this, when you know that this is actually add to order. So it could be something that can appear as a label in the Android app, or it's something for that you know that this method does a certain thing when you do debugging. So imagine your life without this thing, you might ask yourself a question one day, what does this actually do? So RL can be arbitrary to store some kind of descriptive information or label to tell you what method this is.
Can you have other parameters inside there?
Yes, you can have as many other parameters you want to.
It's just
Yeah,
like another.
it's just like your own choice of what you want to show. So the choice of parameters here is either beneficial to your app to do something or beneficial to you when you're reading the code or debugging it. So in this case, it's a bit both ways. So for me, maybe I intend to have this RL, this label appear in the Android app as a label on the button. Same thing, I know what this means when I'm debugging this thing. So in my link class, I will add one more attribute, which is the RL. RL in typically in HTML with you see the RL attribute in the link tag script, or maybe link tag. Yes, link tag you see it, the RL attribute. What it actually means is relation. What is it related to? Can I do this? Ah, no. Okay, I thought I can do that. Right. Okay, so notice when I add in one more constructor here, when I modify the constructor, my previous category model class starts to scream at me that it says it's not, that something is wrong. Okay, so if you want to have multiple ways of creating this thing, you might recall in Java there's this method called overloading. Method overloading is you can declare the same method or the same constructor with different parameters. So it's very good. It's a good choice when you need in cases when you have different constructors or methods that have different purposes, or same method with different parameters that might be used differently. In this case, I still want to retain the original link that uses these two constructors. This constructor is two parameters, but I want to create one new one that includes the RAL in there. Okay. So now I don't have an error in my old code. I can continue live with a new version here. So going back to food detail model. So food detail model has this new attribute called link. Okay. So say link. Okay. Not sure this is a good choice. Yeah, that's fine. So when I construct link, what do I do? Do I leave it empty? Yeah, I think I leave it empty. So now that I created this attribute here in food detail model link that will carry on the method, I will go to resources. So when in the resources, when I return this food item, so the link, what I'll do is I'll create an instant the link class, but because I will fill in the methods that I need to do this. So link has the okay, okay. So first constructor, or rather constructors, href method rel. Okay. So what's this href? HY will be basically like a path. So there's a HY to orders, but it will also have its own ID. So that's the first one. Method will be a post, and then RL will be add to order. Okay. So generally this is how I'm gonna add the link inside. So this is quite straightforward. I mean, we publish this update. Okay, it's quick fast update. So now I'm going to call the get one food item. See what I will retrieve. So looking at the get list, I have a tree. So just choose one here, ID tree, which is nasi lemak. Change foods. Change the parameter to tree. Nothing else. Then oh, ha, something went wrong. Okay, never mind. Go back and check. So get one failed somewhere. Let's go to Glassfish and see if there was an error. Or the log file to see the error. So here, view log files. Okay. When viewing log files, if you have an error, choose a log level to severe and search. Because sometimes you tend to have a lot of other information that's logged into the Glassfish server. Okay, so let's see, severe, so you SSL, 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 this thing here. Okay, so what is this error that looks like my stuff? Message body writer not found for media type application XML. Ah, okay. Because I am missing the producers here. Okay. So by default, Java always assumes everything gonna be split out in XML. And the only way that will work is if I gone into here and created all the XML annotations just like this. Okay, then it will work without creating the producers tag. Okay, so this is in. Let me republish. And send call it again. So now I have everything nicely linked. So this food item, in order to add into the user's order, just need to do a post to this URL. Okay. So your Android app knows that, oh, this can be a call to action or some kind of button, and this is how you do. This is how you call back the server. So now we have completed. Let's see. So we have completed number 3, the 2 methods, and about 1 hour. Okay. Okay. Anyone still need to continue copying something from the code? Upload. Yes, you will upload. Upload. Huh? Too many things going on. Okay. Okay. Step by step. If I very step by step, very slow. Okay. Oh, okay. Yeah. In other words, I'm trying to tell you that you can complete a whole CA2 in 3 lessons. About that. Okay. So now, okay. So now we go to the number 4, order resource. Okay, order resource will be your full spectrum of methods. Your get, your CRUD, create, retrieve, update, delete. Everything in all the works. Okay. And all the works, as you progress down, you'll find that the last item delete will be the simplest to do. so so here you have post, put, get. Okay. The purpose of order is to allow the user of the app to add things into the order, update the order, retrieve it, and eventually check it and confirm it. And if they're not happy, they can delete the order. So the order in this case will be persistent in the database. We'll keep it in DB. Okay, so let's start with the first one, post order. So now we go from bottom up again, right? Let's close everything here and go to the table. So we need one more table here, which is called the order table, right? So let's create the order table. Yep, orders. So the order table will have a couple of something interesting. I can't see my columns. Yeah, columns here. So first column, standard and ID. It's almost standard drill. Okay. Next thing will be, importantly, let's look at our comments here. So in order, we'll have items, food items that we added in. Okay. So in generally, when you post an order, you're sending a food ID. Eventually, you have an order ID. So that will taken care of order ID. But then when you get an order, so this, when you get an order, look at the get part. So the get order returns a few interesting attributes. One is items. Items is an array list of specific item and quantity and price. Okay. In each item, there will also be links that will tell you the certain actions you can do on the item, like removing it from the order, increasing the quantity, or decreasing quantity. So, so I will not add the decrease quantity because it's good enough. Okay. Or you add decrease quantity, you know what to do. There will also be a total amount for this entire order. So that total amount is calculated based on the quantity and price. And you have its own link that is an action. Is it to check out, or maybe possibly another action to say give up order, right? To delete the order. So let's look at the basic first. An items array, a total amount, and the link. In database, what will you keep? You will keep items here. You also keep the total amount. Of course, in a real application, you have more things like tax, service charge, net total, gross total, discounts if you have a discount mechanism. Okay. So here we make it simple first. So in the order table, we'll collect these few items. So how are we going to store items here in this case? Since items is going to be an array that contains an ID of the food item the user or customer has chosen, quantity and price. You need to store these three information per item. So there are two ways to go about doing this. One is I have an order table that will store the ID to order ID, the maybe the customer, the user ID, who did it, who submitted the order, plus the total amount and date time. Hmm? And status, yes, and status, yes, status. That means it's a new order or not submitted or confirmed order, yeah, or collected, different statuses. Just so draft, committed, collected, or what's the last one? So give up the order means we like cancelled order. Yep. So you have a few statuses here. Then you have another table to store the items in the order. Okay, so technically there are two tables involved. So first of all, you have order ID already. You have a status. Status you can store in various types. Most DBAs who look at this will say your status should be stored like using a tiny int, right? So there's a type here called tiny int. Like it's really small. So if you let me see, tiny int. There's a write out on tiny int. What does tiny int store? So integer stores a 32-bit value. A tiny int, 1 bit. Okay, 1 byte. So here is the breakdown between the different integer types in MySQL. Integer uses 4 bytes. Stores a 32. Store is a 32-bit integer. Big int is a 64-bit integer. Okay, so 32, 64, you can guess I'm doing an 8 times this number. So your tiny int takes up only 1 byte of storage, which means it only stores an 8-bit integer. Largest value 127 for a signed value, unsigned value 255. So you know your statuses can't have that many, so you could be using a tiny int to store statuses. So DBA will tell you, please use a tiny int, don't use a varchar, and then store the full text of the statuses inside because it takes a lot of space. Okay, so that's what we're looking at. So you may have some kind of a glossary or table to tell you that, oh, 1 means new, 2 means confirmed, 3 means collected, 4 means cancelled, something like that. Okay, so maybe we'll stay with tiny int. Cannot be now. Is it unique? No. Would it be unsigned? Well, doesn't need to be unsigned, so don't need that. Order increment? No. So this is the only value we have here. Now, if you do have a default value for this, that means you create an order without a status. For any reason at all, start with 1. So in the head, you need to have some kind of a memory that 1 means this, 2 means that, 3 means something else. So eventually we get to that in Java, how are you going to store? You have it store the code. Okay. You will have also the user ID. So the user ID would be the ID of the user, most likely like registered in the app, who did this particular order. Next, you will have status date. So order date. So when was the order created? This. So here you will store date time. Date time. And you can conveniently use the timestamp function. Or now. I think so. I think it's the same. Okay. So the now expression now is a MySQL function that retrieves you the current date time or timestamp. So this will be a not now value. Also. Okay, so these are the 4 items. One more. Yes. Yeah. The user ID not now also. Must be somebody. Okay. So other items will be total amount. This will give you use a double. And then what else do I have? Let's look at the schema. Okay, I think that's good enough. So last one, don't need that. So these are the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 columns in the order table. Okay, then apply. Oh, total amount cannot be now. 0 default value 0. Yep. Yes. Okay, so apply. Okay, and again my database here big cuckoo never sees me. Okay, never mind. So we have a table. Next thing is the model. But it's just one table or 2 tables. Huh? So in the model, I'll create a thing called order model. So the order model class would have the same things I have in database, which is my ID, my status. Okay, so notice that in the database I could use tiny int. In the Java, I still use integer. Generally, it's okay. Let's see if Java has a tiny int. Oh, nope, don't think so. Okay, so I use status here. Normally what I do is that I also do include some kind of a code comment to tell myself that what the values that this might have. 1 is new, 2 is confirmed, 3 is cancelled, 3 is collected, 4 is cancelled. Okay, status values. Right. Okay, I'll also have my date, date time or date object, or the date. Let's see. What else did I have? Status order date total amount. Oh, total amount. User, yes. User ID. Okay. Date. Last class they use Java date SQL, so they can get the value. Okay. So let's say ID 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. So here is my order model. Next will be the data store for orders. Okay, new class. So the data store for orders would be very similar to how you created the food store just now. So order store. In order store, first method is to create an order. So the create order will then return an order ID. So I'll return an integer. So here I'll create a create class. So the create order First time round, what would I throw into the order? Okay. When I create order, I will always need the user ID. Current user who created the order. Next thing will be first food ID that they created. Okay. So this is based on what I have in the method here. So create order will send the food ID and it will return me an order ID. Now the user ID, where does it come from? Okay. So you notice I don't have user ID in the post request, right? Okay. But for every post request at this point of time, so among all these methods, the order resource will be the one that is authenticated. So because it's authenticated, there's a way to link back to user ID. So depending how you do it, there are a lot of ways to do it. Like, can you send the user ID in the header, right? That's one way. Or if you don't send the header, you get someone might fake order on someone's behalf. You still send the token, but in the token table, you can trace it back to the user who created it. So a couple of ways to do it. So it can be quite imaginative here. So, but we do need the user ID. So here in the create, we'll do a few checks. First of all, if so, we're assuming here we have some assumptions. Assuming that the person only has one order, a person cannot have multiple orders. If there are multiple orders, you will append the food ID to the latest order, nothing before that. So when you create, there's two cases. No order has been created under this user ID, you create new order row. If an order exists, you append it, and the order exists must be the latest order. Get it? So let me write down in code comments first. So if no orders exist for user, create new order row and new order item. Else, add new order item. So this is the main logic. To latest most recent order. Let's create our order ID that will eventually return. Okay, so how shall we start this? So there will be a few things that will happen within this particular method. You need to check if there are orders existing for the user first. And then you can decide, do you create a new one or just add into the items. So to do this, one of the ways you could write everything in this one method here, or break it up into smaller pieces. So think of it as I need to have a method to find out if there is a order existing for this user. So it could be a private method or public method, or public method, doesn't matter. So let's say and find, maybe I want to create, give me a, so maybe I'll create a method to give me a list of orders under your user. So find orders. So here I'll pass in user ID to give me a list of orders. So here get connection, very standard stuff. I'm going to copy and paste these things in somewhere else already. Okay. So since I'm going to get I have a condition, I'll create a prepared statement again. So here I'll be doing a select star from orders where user ID. So here prepared statement I'll set integer based on the user ID, and I'll get myself a result set. And because it's a list, I will then loop. So I guess you can roughly know the drill around this already, right? Okay, so while you're typing all this, once you reach the finish typing this part, let me know, because I need to make a change to the query. Okay, so next one is to do the orders add. Right. Okay. When you do a selection, or when you do a SQL query to select lists or item, multiple items, in order to have the return set sorted in a particular order, you can use a certain flags behind the SQL statement. So I'll show you that. So right now what we do this, we select stuff from orders. The default order of the items will return in the default order that the default sorting order that the order was inserted. So you can't really control the so-called the sorting here by not specifying anything. So basically you let the database decide what's the sorting order of the data to be returned. Now if you want this data set to be sorted according to the latest on top, so the latest order is the first item, what you can do is at the end of the SQL statement, select star from orders where user ID equals to question mark. Okay, this keyword called order by. The order by means to tell SQL statement I want this data to be sorted by a particular attribute or something. So let's say I want to be sorted by order date. Okay, so make sure I use the correct column name, order date, and then I specify the direction. So in the direction in SQL there are two, ascending or descending. So just like Excel, you sort the different rows based on a different column. So ascending is typically ASC. If you want it descending, it's DESC. So there are short forms for ascending and descending. So to retrieve orders based on the latest one first, then you go by order date descending. You can also sort by multiple parameters. So just in Excel, you can say sort by column A, B, and C. In order to do the same thing, you just put a comma followed by the next column from this column. So if you do understand how Excel sorts your rows when you sort by multiple columns, you would be able to understand how MySQL gives you the same effect. Okay. So here I didn't do any paging yet. Okay, so let me start simple. So now if I have the order store ready, next is to move up to the resources. So now for the first time we have to create a resource for orders. So create a new class called orders. So in the new class orders, the first thing to do is to define the path. So like our path here, right? Orders. So up to you. In a singular word or singular plural, it's up to you. So let's set the path, right? Next thing is to create the first method. The first method here orders would be to retrieve or no, to post the new order in. So create a method here, create, So create order will have one parameter based on this is to get integer food ID. Now this will be doing a post. Because there's a path parameter, you need to define a path food ID. Okay, and when it is done with this job, eventually you need to return response OK. Okay, so a lot of stuff that's missing. Wrong response. Not this response. Call response. Okay. Orders will be using the food store. So we'll create a private food store. Sorry, not food store, order store. Okay, wrong store. Okay. So inside the create method, we need to have order ID, right? And go store to create. So here comes the mystery. How to get user ID from here, right? So we have a missing user ID in this case. So later we need to link up the user ID somehow. Okay, now we leave it at 0 first. We'll come back to the user ID later. Because our order is not really complete. So right now it can send a food ID, but we don't actually have the table to store the item that's at the end. Okay. So there's still some work to be done. So we only scaffold all the way up to here, but we don't actually have the full create method inside. So let's go back to create. Okay, so in create, what am I missing so far still? I'm missing the rest of the method to actually create a new order and new order item. But I do have one that supports me to find whether there are orders available. So here I will try to retrieve a list of orders. So for the user orders equals to find. So find orders by user ID first. So are there any orders for this user ID? Check. User orders account. Is it account? Size. Oh, okay, dot size. It's more than 0. That means there is already an existing order. Take first element in user orders to append item. Right? This is this case. For the other part, if it doesn't exist, here. Let's do the easy one first. Doesn't exist. So if it doesn't exist, I need to create the order. Here I will get a connection. So I'm going to do a SQL somewhere here. Maybe not the best place to do this. So here I will need to insert the order into order table. And then add one item. Okay, so there are two SQL statements happening. One is to add the item, the full item. Second is to add a new order item in the table. So which comes first? Should it be the item or should it be the order? Okay, so every order has multiple items. Means every item has an order ID that goes back. So first I need to create order, get the order ID, then I can create the items and the order. Right? So create the order and create the item order. So to create order, prepare statement. So order statement equal to prepare the statement. So here to create the order, it will be insert into orders. So the different values here. ID don't need it. User ID, yes. Okay. So let's go back to the table and take a look. ID is auto-generated, so I don't need that. Status, because I'm creating one new one, I can keep it empty. The database will create one standard, the first status for me. User ID, I need it. Order date, I don't need to put in the database. You create one for me. Total amount, I need to enter it. Or first time, because I'm doing it the first time, yes, I need to enter. I need to calculate the first total amount. So technically, I only need two fields to do a new order: user ID and total amount. So now I need to get the total amount first. Total amount I need to calculate based on the food ID that is retrieved, right? So in the create order, I need to calculate total amount from somewhere. So use food ID to retrieve the food item, and then because I'm defaulting 21, get the amount and put it in here. So again, I need a method from the food model, or rather the food store. So I already have a method to get one food item based on the ID, but that comes from food store here, right? Get one. So I'm going to use this method inside my order store. So in order to use that in the order store, well, so one way to do this is to create a private food store instance. And I use it here to get myself the food. So get one based on the food ID. So now I calculate my total amount, pick the price, it's one item only, and then go to my order statement, set the different values. So set integer for the user ID, and then set the price. It's in double price, total amount. So now finally I do a execute. Okay, so I think we did try to do this in the user store. When I execute an insert statement, I want to return the ID at the same time. Yeah. Let's go to the old code in user store. So let's a bit of something here. The user store. Okay, so in order to insert and then return the generated key, there's this option called statement return generated key that you can put as a second parameter in prepare statement. So when you say prepare statement, especially as an insert statement, you want to return the key that's generated. By putting this option, what happens is after you do an execute update, you can do a get generated keys from the same statement itself. So what I'm going to do for orders is at the end of the orders and prepared statement, I will put this as a parameter. Because it will tell prepared statement that after insertion, it will need be prepared to return me the ID that's generated. So instead of calling execute, purely execute, I use execute update, which will return me the rows affected, or rather rows affected count, number of rows that are affected by this particular execute statement. So if rows affected count is equal to 1, I expect only 1, then what I'll do is retrieve the result set from the same order statement by calling a get generated keys. I'll get generated keys here, I expect only one value, so I'll just check order result X is valid. What I'll do is I can retrieve the order ID from order result, get integer, and index 1. So in generated keys, it's expected the result set should only have one column, one row. So if you don't need to think about which column name, just get by index 1, which you will get back the ID. So this will be to create the order item. Not order item yet. The next step is to create the order item. Right? Okay. So we still haven't finished an order yet. To create an order item, now you need a table to store the items. So go back to SQL. So here I have, okay, my orders were there. Don't know what's not appearing. Let me restart my SQL workbench. Okay, here's my orders table. What I need to do is add an order item table. Okay. So order items. It will have its own item will have ID. Quite usually typical to always put ID there. May not be usable. Actually may not be usable. Okay, let's see the ID first. So an ID, data type integer, primary key, not null, unique, auto increment.
In any case, if you have multiple items, then you want to cancel one.
Sorry?
If you have order multiple items and you have to
Cancel one, right?
and ID be very, very useful.
Yeah. I was thinking no ID by using the food ID as a unique identifier. But there may be chance I order a variation. I separate for some reasons, right? There's a food ID, but food item, but it appears as two different rows because of variations of it. Like, oh, this one add something to it, the other one don't add something to it. So in terms of scalability, it's better to have ID per item. So in the future, if you have some interesting variation for food, you don't need to re-engineer an entire database. Okay, so there'll be a item ID. Also, you have a food ID. So the food ID will be the actual food item that they sent in. So this cannot be now. Per item ID, there will be a quantity. So how many did they order? Oh, let's use tiny integer for now. Not now. Default 1. And then storing the price. Why to store the price here is so that we don't need to go back to the food ID table to retrieve the price when we calculate the total again. Okay, so price will be not now, must have a value. If nothing is given, it must be at least be 0. Okay, so ID, food ID, calling price, and of course, order ID. Link back to the order table. Integer not now. Okay. So right now you're learning database at a very entry level. Those who understand databases, you probably recommend creating a foreign key constraint to create a relationship between the order items versus the order table. So here you already see a thing called relationship. So the relationship here occurs when you have typically we say one-to-one, one-to-many, many-to-many kind of relationship. So in orders to order item is a one-to-many, meaning one order has multiple items. So when let's say in a worksheet, an Excel, Sometimes you have one row that refers to multiple rows on another sheet. So you want to have a consolidated view. In database, we call this method of getting consolidated view called joins. So instead of calling two statements to retrieve two data, you can use a single statement by doing a join, and you get a single result instead of two results. So in order to have the linkage, there must be this thing called a foreign key, and that it matches the primary key. So in this order items, where is the foreign key? This order ID is actually a foreign key, means it links to some other table somewhere outside. So for readability, you always have the same name. So if it's called, or rather it's a naming convention. So if it's order table, I call it ID. In the other tables, I will probably have the table name underscore by the actual primary key name. It's either that or in the order table, this ID will be called an order ID, and here I will use the same name again. So that's naming convention. Okay. In the databases, there's also an option below called foreign keys. This tab. So this allows the database to know that, oh, these two tables are related. So what's the advantage of creating foreign keys is that if you were to delete order and you want to automatically remove all the items, the database can do it for you. We call it cascading delete. So you tell the database a rule is that, okay, if by any chance that a particular order ID is removed, from the order table, remove all related uh, foreign keys, right, in other tables. So we call that cascading delete. It's kind of convenient when you want to remove a lot of things. So it's like removing a folder, therefore remove all the files inside. Today in a lot of web application development, this is not actually enforced. They do a manual delete, meaning in the software you do that as a second level deletes and all that. Now, if you have a very simple one-to-many table like this, I think it's okay. But if you have more complex relationship, probably it's better to let the database do a cascading delete instead. Okay. So right now I won't go into foreign keys and relationships in that detail. I'll just leave it as it is. So once you're done, you can apply. So these are the statements. Create a table. So order items, right? So now I have an order items table, means I will need to have some kind of way to add into it and later retrieve. Well, for the time being, inside the order store, I can do another prepared statement to do the insertion. So here comes a decision. Should I create a similar code here to create an order item, or create another private method that will insert an order item based on the order ID? Because it's something that will reuse again later for the other situations, right? Especially when there's already existing order, I'm going to just add a new order. So because we're going to reuse certain functions, I will write this as another method. So we call add create order item. So why add create order item is because if the order item doesn't, or rather it's add order item, create order item. So create order item, let me go back. Oops. Create order item. So I just need an order ID and food ID, quantity, price. Okay. So basically the function will just insert an order item based on all these necessary parameters. Does it need a return ID? Not necessary yet. Okay. So the rest of this is the same. Create connection, catch the error. Okay, so prepared statement. Set to order items. So order ID, let's look at database. Make sure I got the right columns inside. So here it's insert into order items. I need my order ID. Yes, I order ID, my food ID, price, quantity. Values would be question mark, question mark, question mark. Four parameters. This is quite straightforward because just purely data in. So quite a no-brainer. So just follow the order of the things to go into the parameters. Three is price. So recall for just make sure that for the price it should be a set double, right? Don't set integer, otherwise you lose all the you'll be losing money literally. Finally, set integer for the quantity. Okay. Don't forget to execute. This is probably the simplest SQL insert statement so far. So once you have the method ready, then you can go back to the bottom when the create order, the create method here. Then use this method to insert the order item. Anyone still need to copy? Typing? No. Okay. Can I move on? Right. Let's go back down to create order. Okay. So create order. Just call this dot create order item with the order ID that I have, food ID that is provided here. Because it's the first item, I have price quantity 1, and then I have previously the food item retrieved with the price. So, yeah. So this will be the finishing for one of the cases. First time when no food orders exist for the user, create new order row and new order item. Okay. Now what if the order already exists for the user, which is this or user order size is more than 0. So if it's more than 0, what I'm interested is last order ID. That's only usually the last order ID. But I don't need to, for this case, I don't need to create another order. I just need to add one more order item in. So from user order, let's see, get element 0, get the ID from there. Okay, so this is the ID I want. All I need to do now is to call, what do I need to call? Okay, two things. Add the food item, add the food order, add the order item in. So I need to do this. Get food ID, right? And then add the order inside. So let's see the steps, right? Get food item, add order item. One more step, update total amount. Right? Okay. So now create this the order item using the last order ID, using the same food ID, quantity 1, price, take this food price. So that one's done. Last part is to update the total amount. Okay. So I need to calculate what's the new total amount right now. Let's create a variable. So I need the last order total amount. So user orders get the first order, so the first. So I retrieve the user order based on the most recent. So I'll take the most recent, which is on the top item, the total amount, plus this one, the price. Okay, so this is my new total amount, but I still need to update it. So create connection, get a connection of course, and yep, very much similar to what happened below. Except I'm gonna update will only be the total amount. So this SQL statement is going to be an update statement. So update orders set something total amount. Is it total amount? Total amount. Let's see. Total amount, correct. So I'm going to set total amount with this where the ID is equal to. So I had two parameters. The first parameter, which is the total amount, set double 1 total amount here. The second parameter is the food order ID, which is this, right? Last order ID. And then just execute. And that, so my create order function is done. So we cater for two cases. If the user has never ordered before, you create a new order and a new order item. Now the user has ordered something before, you take the last order, the most recent order ID, update the total amount, add the new order item into the list. So far so good. So much information. Oh, up or down?
No, you're working in.
Oh, okay. Sorry. The mouse is working here. Okay. Mm, After this, we should test the method. Okay, so in 1 hour we have created one endpoint, 4 SQL. Okay, so my advice when you create certain methods is that when you know that within the method there are a few steps to get to the final outcome, always try to break it up. So if you're not sure what code to write, it's always best to write down in comments, pseudocode, or like at least the steps. Like, oh, I need to do this. Step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, before I can finish the whole thing. So break it into parts in comments, so you tell yourself what you're going to do. And then if you need to create another method to do it, you write another method. So rather than have, let's say, all this expanded into all the different codes, you made this like much longer and more difficult to read. So you see that along the way, as always, if I'm encountering a situation where I need to use this function or this thing again, I will most likely write a method. Okay. Let me publish this to the server. Also, the thing with writing code over time is that when you write a function that has a lot of steps in between, like this case, if you have a get food item, create order item, calculate something, updating, and then one another aspect of it is creating, you will tend to get some errors and mistakes along the way. So it's not as straightforward as compared to this create order item. Right? If you do get a error from here, it's likely a SQL error. It's just one place to see. But if you get an error from here, like this create, you get an error, you'll be wondering, is it coming from this case here or the one below it, right? So as you write bigger and bigger chunks of code, the chances of having mistakes is there, and debugging tends to be a bit more complicated. So now it's updated already. Oh, have I created the endpoint? So I cannot create all this stuff. Let's see. Let's check. No, actually I haven't created an endpoint yet. Have I? Orders, create. Yes, here. I have. Okay. So the endpoint of this create order food, order ID. Right. Let's return the order ID as a number. Okay. Update again. So let's test this one.
Something wrong. No, because you're using get one, get one is for
From food store.
the create, the order store create. Which one? Use get one here.
Here and below.
You're using food model,
Yes.
but get one is model zero.
Oh. Okay. Didn't complain cause it's inherited from food model. That's why. Just complaining. Okay. Yeah, technically it doesn't complain because it's actually inherited from the same parent class. The effect is that you only capture the values based on the class, the type you declare here to use. So if there are differences, then the difference are removed. Okay. Hmm. Moment of truth. So much code, don't know whether it will work or not. So I'm going to order for myself food item number 3. So the food ID will be 3. Let's see what happens. Oh, wait. I didn't include the whole thing. Oh, wrong endpoint, wrong endpoint. This one. Request empty cannot be empty. Oh, that request. Because I didn't tell Java that this is a path parameter. Okay, so this is what happens if you don't declare. Right. Okay, now it should be okay. There's still one thing missing, which is the user ID. We haven't sorted out how to get the user ID. Okay, so let me just push it. Zero doesn't load, right? Okay. Okay, so I just did a call to post. So I ordered food item either ID 3 to my order, but I got a zero back. So my order ID is zero. Apparently that shouldn't be right because in all databases when you return ID it's never zero usually. So let's take a look. No orders inserted. Yeah, so SQL error somewhere, right? Okay, so here comes the very terrible part about debugging a very lengthy sort of code. Okay, so elimination. So right now first we know that there's something wrong with this code, error 500. There's probably SQL error. Let's see, do I see it in my console because this is not right? Probably not. Wait. Okay. So we need to find out from the part of creating the order what went wrong. So let's do a step through. Okay. I think maybe I know why. Let's load this. Okay. See order table. So if an SQL error happens, what are the possibility? Number one, SQL statement was wrong. Wrong because I mistyped the column name, table name, or the command itself was wrong. So yeah, I think I saw my own error. Orders table stores the user ID as user underscore ID. Here I try to call user capital ID. Okay, that's wrong. So or you instead of order, you should be using user underscore ID and total amount. That's the first mistake. Update that. So those who are copying just now, check that your prepared statement insert into orders. The user ID is user underscore ID, not user capital I then D. There was also a mistake just now. Okay, let's try again. I have an order ID. Okay, so let's see. What do I get? So new order entered. Order ID 1, first order of the system. Status 1, which is a new order. User ID 0 because I purposely put 0. Total amount 4.5 because I choose the item from here, which is $4.50. So this is all in order. It works. Okay. After running so much code, it works. Sometimes I get very scared after running a lot of code. There's a mistake somewhere. Then you debug it. Okay, so this is first scenario. Now I'm going to go for second scenario is the user has existing order. I'm going to add one more item inside. Okay, so what will happen is the order total amount will be updated, plus there'll be one more item that will be inserted in. So let's say I ask for order item number 1, post, right? Okay. So expected not to tell me anything else, or should it? 0? Okay. I'll come back to that 0 later. So let's take a look at my order items. Oh, total amount 1.5. Wrong. Apparently replaced. Order items, there are 2 rows. Okay, so you can see a logical error that happened. The total amount was not added up, it was replaced. Right, okay, let's come back to the code, right? So this is very easy when you say a logical error like that. So my total amount here is wrong. Okay, what went wrong with total amount? So how can this total amount be equal to the food price that I just entered instead of the total? Likely this was 0. This could be 0 for one thing. So when I get food, it turned me the food detail model food. The total amount was 0 for some reason. So 0 could be why could it be 0 is could be because, let's see, go to food get 1. So in the get 1 method, let's see, um, is it possible that I couldn't find the food item based on ID? Not possible. If that was it, then this return food would be null. If this is null, if this value is null, this will give me an error already because I couldn't find it. Okay, so it did return something. Get price. So for some reason here get price.
No, but
Oh,
you're saying that
get order. Sorry.
your get one is
Oh, okay. User orders total amount. Sorry. User total. Get find order. Sorry. Look at find
get
orders.
one is the ID.
Get one is wrong method. Get one is food. I was supposed to look at the find orders by user ID. We'll be looking at find the method called find orders first. So find orders total amount is 0. Let's go to find orders. Click here. So find order method where I retrieve orders based on user ID. So I'm missing one item to get back. Total amount. Yeah, I'm actually missing this one. Okay, so when I retrieve from orders, orders has 5 attributes. There was one attribute that I missed out in retrieving, the total amount. That's why I defaulted to 0.
Right?
So in create order, what happened was that when I did a find order, it gave me this list. Because I didn't populate the value for total amount just now, the default would be 0. Therefore, this amount was 0 plus the new item 1.5 became 1.5. Let's publish this. So now to correct the mistake, I just need to add one more item to the cart. So let's add item number 2 in. Check the order table again. $9. Order items. This. Okay. So let's say I want to reset. So let's just reset the table. Okay. So I made a mistake somewhere. I need to clean the data. So you can delete from orders, delete from order items, and remove all of it first. Okay. 0 rows. Okay. So start again. So let's start one more time. So I created another order. Food ID 3 and food ID 2 and food ID 3. 3 is the data. Okay, so I have two items there, total to $12. So what are the items there? So 7.5 plus 4.5 is $12. Okay, so now it's corrected. So logically it works now. Okay. So here's your create order. We don't have a user ID yet. Okay, so how do we get a user ID, right? So say we do something very easy or straightforward. So in the headers, okay. So this is one easy way out. Put the user ID in the header and send over. So assuming your Android app after user login, you store the user ID in the local storage in the app, and then send the thing over there as a header. So if you're sending a header over the Android from Android app to a web service, how do you pick up the header in your methods, especially when you need one inside here, right? So let's say get it from header key user ID. Make sure it's correct. Capital I. Okay. Frankly, I've not tried this before. So what am I going to do is to get the header from the header user ID here. It comes from this guy, and then send it here. So let me republish a header. So to get the user ID, if I'm sending through the header, seems quite straightforward. So now I'm going to create new order based on this user ID one. Set it in. Order ID 3. Let's take a look at the order. So there's a new order ID 3 from user ID 1. So that's on the header. And your order ID 3 has one item for ID 1. So now if assuming the same user ID from the Android app decided to order one more item for what is this? 4 goes to 3. So this person ID number 3 has ordered more stuff. So this is one quick and easy way to send over the user ID using headers. So assuming other user is logging on your app, you know the ID, you can store it back in your Android app and then use that to do the subsequent actions. One way, or maybe token, and then token you need to pull out the ID from the database. So that is finally your post order. Yes, okay, go back. So post order very small but a lot of work. post get put post put get delete. Okay, put will be very easy. This particular put method will be very easy, generally much easier than this one. Okay, shall I look at the put method? Okay, before we go to the put method, so the original put method I wrote here was to put order ID, and then followed by the object replace. So in most cases, when you put in the so simplest way is to send the entire object in that's equivalent to, let's say this case, an entire order, and then replace it. So it's a very straightforward way. But for this case, we'll do something slightly different. Instead of taking the whole object and sending it in, think of what you actually need to change rather than the whole thing. So the user can create an order, add items in the order. But what they need to change? Can they change by removing items from the order, updating the quantity of the item in the order, or updating the status of the order? So you got a lot of possible puts to use, right? So let's go for the simplest one. The user will commit the order and check out by simply updating the status. So in your get order method, there will be one method here says order status confirm. So this will elevate the order status from 1 to 2. Okay, 2 means it's confirmed. That means they paid or something like that happened. So they committed to pay. So we'll do a very simple put method that will basically update the status to this confirm. So this one will work bottom up again. So in order to have a put method or update status method, your order store must have a way to update the status. So far we have a create for item, find orders. So we need one way to update orders status. So here I'll say update order status. Two things I need to update the order status is the order ID, in which order update, and then the status value. Okay. So the status value I leave it as a empty empty as a parameter for you to define when you call it. So here there's nothing to return, is a void method. Okay. Most of the stuff I do here will be the same. Okay. So what is different here will be the prepared statement or the SQL statement. So since I'm going to be only updating the status of the order, so I'll do update orders set status is equal to this one, where ID is this. Looks something like the set amount, right? Yeah. Okay. So this is the SQL statement. All there is. Two parameters. Set the set the status. So set integer one, which is the status that will be passed in. Secondly, set the second parameter, the order ID that will be passed in, and then you do a execute. Or not query, just execute. So this will update the order ID with a new status. So once you're done creating this method, you can go to your orders resource to create another endpoint or web service that will handle a put method, accept two path parameters, and call this function. So we go to orders now. So update status. Right. Update status will use a put. You will have a very unique path, order ID, followed by what do we have here? We put status, and then followed by the status you want to set. So here will be a path parameter. First is the order ID. Second path parameter, the status. And then I'll just call store to update order status, the order ID and the status here. Response, return the response, which is basically successful. But here I'm not returning anything more elaborate than just a 200 OK. So once you're done, you can publish and test. You may test method. So this endpoint put is a lot more simpler than the create, right? Since you're only updating one attribute. So I will go to the order. Okay, so now let me create a put request. So I'm going to update my order number 3. So update order number 3 is status 2. So if I go to my order model, 1 is new, 2 is confirmed, right? So we put that 2 and then do a set. Okay. And then refresh this. I should see the status of order number 3 beyond 2. Yep. So here's a put method. Technically, a user can now confirm an order. Okay. Okay. On this status value, what we normally do in other what I used to do in other language C#, I will create a list of constants or enumerators. So the enumerators would have a something I read that says new, but assigned to a value 1. So it's an easy way for me to use throughout the application to assign values rather than remembering that oh, 2 is this, 3 is 4 is this. Because it is harder to remember the number meaning unless there's an explicit written meaning to it. So normally we use enumerators for such things. Okay, so we have completed this and this in a sense. So this one using like this one. So next one will be the get method. Okay. The get method will return you order object with a list of items, everything inside plus possibly some of the links, right? And final delete. So to get this thing, first of all, the structure of the main structure, order model, we have it. So we're missing this items array, right? Then followed by the order item model. Okay. So in the order model, what we can do now is that we can actually create add on one more attribute to it, which is a list of items. Or rather, actually, we need to start from creating the definition for the order item first. So let's create a new class called order item. So order item would have an ID. So we follow very much what the database gives us. Order ID, food ID, quantity, and price. So this is the basic order item structure. So next will be the order model Java. Here, what I'll do is to introduce one more attribute called, which is a list, type of list, order item. So an order item, we'll name it items, just like how we have it in the brief. So here, make sure that list is Java util again. Okay. So whether or not when you have a constructor, you want to initialize a list to an array, up to you. You can leave it now, doesn't matter yet. So this is just a one change from here to here. Okay, so do that. So now we have the object ready. Go to order store, or rather, see order store. So in the order store, we'll have a find orders. Okay. So coming back to find orders. So you can choose one or either way. One is I can expand on the function of find orders to return me the order model with the order items inside, right? Or write a new method just to give me order items. So let's say I don't want to create a new method. I want to reuse this. So enter order items. I'll create a new instance, the array list here. Okay. Oh, let's see. They have a list. Oh, here I have. Let's see. Array list can be ordered. Hmm. Why is it saying? Oh, to include that. So get order items. Hmm. So here I already have 5 orders. The statement here will give me orders, but not the order items. Okay, so it looks like I still need another method to give me order items. Find order items by order ID. Same. Okay. Prepared statement almost the same. Set say order items where order ID is equals to correct column first, correct. T set integer to the order ID. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 items. Items in. Okay, looks like in order. Wait, not yet. So below here to get the list, actually I need to do this. So instead of that, I should actually just assign items to this dot get order items based on the order ID. Okay, so now I have this done. So I go to orders. So if I do a very quick get method to give me orders, and then based on the path parameter order ID, this will be a get method. The path would be have an order ID inside. Find orders. Wait. Actually, I missed out something. Find orders by user ID. Oh, okay. Sorry, what I added was find orders by user ID. So in order to create a find order by ID, find order by ID. Yeah. So I should change to this. Okay. So okay, what I did was just duplicate the. How I copy the order find order by user I find orders by user ID into a find order by ID. Okay. or rather quite a lot. So now here. We need this one. Order. So let's find order by ID. Order model B. Store the find order by ID, pass ID here, and then return the response. Okay. Okay, so here's a get order by ID. Okay, so I did a few changes. First of all, in order store, I created a new, basically a new method called find order by ID. So it's quite similar to find orders by user ID. Instead of retrieving where a list of orders by user ID, this particular method should only have one item. So only change a few things here. Yeah. So expected only one item, I just do a next, then fulfill the model object here, and add the items in. Then this will be used in the resource method to get orders by the ID. We can test it out. Okay. So now get order by ID, you should see all the information. Minus the links. So next week we'll continue finishing this up. Sorry, too fast. Okay, yeah. Yes. Some block.
Yeah, everything, but then
So if
it clips back halfway, so
oh, you click that halfway also. Okay.
never save, so I don't know when to pay.
Okay. So
I see your video.
okay, you go through the video. Can understand so far.